In this video, I'll be showing you how to get the most out of your new Ryzen 9 or Intel processor by optimizing core affinities using Process Lasso. And if you don't know what Process Lasso is, it's an app that is made to automate tasks like changing affinities on apps and changing power plans to help performance. This video is especially useful for people with Ryzen 9s and newer Intels that have different core types and different CCDs. So let's open Process Lasso. If this is your first time using Process Lasso, this might look complicated to you, but you don't have to worry since we don't need to learn all the settings in this application. Today we are only focusing on CPU affinities. In this tab you can see a lot of info about the active processes on your PC, like their CPU usage, their CPU average usage, and their CPU affinity that is already set to them. So for me right now it's 0 to 19 because it's at their default. So for this video I'll be using CS2 as the benchmark since it's a CPU demanding game and it would benefit from correct affinities like not being spread across two CCDs on AMD and E-cores on Intel. Whether you're running on a Ryzen 9 which has multiple CCDs or an Intel hybrid processor with separate performance and efficient cores, what we do is basically the same thing. The goal is to run your game on the best cores and shift less critical background apps somewhere else. So let's start with Ryzen 9s. These processors have multiple dies or CCDs that are connected by a very fast interconnect connection called the Infinity Fabric. However, for games this connection is still a little slow, so games that are run across both CCDs have to exchange info through this slow connection, which causes overhead and less performance. This can easily be solved by using Process Lasso to keep the game on only one of the CCDs. For example, if my CPU was a Ryzen 9 7950X, which is a 16-core CPU spread across two 8-core CCDs, it would help performance if I made the game only run on the first 8 cores in the first CCD and run the rest of my background apps and processes on my second 8 cores in my second CCD. This boosts your gaming performance by A, not having data go through Infinity Fabric, and B, not having background apps to run on the same cores as your game. We can apply the same to Intel, which has a hybrid performance and efficient core design. Think of efficient cores as your second CCD, only that Intel doesn't have core-to-core connection issues. It's just that the E-cores are not meant to play games and they usually reduce performance if a game is run across them. For example, my CPU, which is a i7-12700H, has 6 P-cores that are the first 12 threads and 8 E-cores that are the last 8 threads, since E-cores don't have multi-threading. In this case, you'd set your game, for example CS2, to P-cores, which are the first 12 threads, and your background apps like OBS, NVIDIA Overlay, or Discord to E-cores, which are the last 8 threads. Here's how you set affinities for each application. Go to Active Processes tab, right click on your app of choice and hover over CPU affinity always and click on select CPU affinity. Here if you have an Intel processor, you can see it will say E in front of the threads that are E-cores. For your game click on P-cores and for your background apps click on E-cores and press OK to apply it. Now you can see in the CPU affinity column the affinity change, and Process Lasso will apply these affinities every time you launch that game or app you set affinities for. For Ryzen 9 users, if you don't know how many cores your CPU has, you can just see them in Process Lasso here. If there is only 16 threads here, it means you have a single CCD CPU, so you don't have to do this. If you have any more than 16, take half for your game and half for your background apps. For example, a Ryzen 9 7900X, which is a 12-core 24-thread CPU, has two 6-core CCDs, so the first 12 threads should be for games and the second 12 threads for background apps. Doing this will make sure your game will never have to go through Infinity Fabric. I ran tests with and without affinities and here are the results. If this was helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you liked and sub. If there's any questions, you can drop a comment and I'll get back to you as soon as I see it. Thanks for watching.